The topic for this video is the financial planning area of estate planning. We're looking at financial planning frameworks and processes in this video series covering integrated financial planning, developing effective financial plans. Okay, we always start these videos with a quick review of the 6 financial planning components: financial management, investment planning, insurance and risk management, tax planning, retirement planning, and the topic for this video is estate planning. So you can see we're getting to the end of the series on the 6 financial planning components or 6 financial planning areas. Each of the areas goes through the steps of collection of information, analysis, and recommendation. If we look at that in a little bit more detail, here we have the collection where we gather and prepare quantitative information. We gather qualitative information. Then we start to assess that information. We assess the client situation and we consider and evaluate different strategies. We put it all together, and in the recommendation, we develop recommendations to help optimize the client's situation. So that's the competency profile. In addition to the 6 financial planning areas, we also want to concern ourselves with the financial planning body of knowledge, the FPBOK, and that distinguishes the knowledge expected of FP Canada certificates and comprises 12 topics. Number 1, financial planning profession and financial services industry regulation. 2, financial analysis. 3, credit and debt. 4 and 5 are registered retirement plans and government benefit plans. We see we cover that really in the video on retirement. Then you've got registered education and disability plans, economics, investments, taxation, law, insurance, and human behavior. You can see the topic for this video is estate planning, and we don't really have any extra specialized knowledge here with regards to the 12 topics in the FPBOK with regards to estate planning. Again, just a quick review. We're getting the data for these videos, for the slides, etc. We're at the FP Canada website, www.fpcanada.ca. We scroll down to the bottom. Up here on the left-hand side, competency profile. So we've been dealing with the 2019 and 2020 competency profile. As we know, there's been some changes from 2019 to 2020. We saw that in the video for retirement planning, that quite a few changes under the analysis section. And similarly, there's quite a few changes in the estate planning section for 2020. And that's why I just wanted to do a quick reminder of where we're getting that information. Okay, if I go back and also just a quick review onto the home page, if I scroll myself back up, here we are, the featured resource, financial planning body of knowledge. You can see nothing really here on estate planning, but just a quick reminder, we were in here looking at different topics, and it's quite good if we're looking, for example, at investments again. You can see the body of knowledge that's required in the left-hand column for both FPSC Level 1 certificates, which is becoming the QAFP at the beginning of 2020. And we can scroll down. Is there anything specific to CFP professionals only? No. So you can see in terms of investments, everything's really required. Click on the foundations, read more, and you get into the learning outcome statements. Okay, so that was just a quick review of the data that we're going to use for this video on estate planning, and in summary, there's nothing extra that we need to drill down in terms of the FPBOK. So here I'm showing page 2 of the professional competency profile, and that's the 2020 version. So you can see here the financial planning area. Now we're looking at estate planning. So these 2 first boxes are concerning themselves with the collection of information. The next 2 boxes are concerning themselves with the analysis. And then finally, the last column is the recommendation. So you can see here, and this is a quick preview, but from 2019 to 2020, again, there's been some additions similarly as we saw in the video on the retirement planning. There was some elements added into this section in terms of considering and evaluating strategies for retirement. There's more elements added. Similarly, in terms of estate planning, there's been more elements added here in 2020. Okay, so starting here on the collection side, in terms of gathering and preparing the quantitative information. When we're looking at estate planning and legal aspects, what the elements are: collects information and documents that impact estate planning strategies. Number 2, identifies parties relevant to clients' estate planning. Number 3, collects legal documents and relevant information. And finally, number 4, in terms of gathering quantitative information, is identifies parties relevant to clients' legal agreements. Then we move to the collection of qualitative information in this column, and we determine the client's estate planning experience, attitudes, biases, and objectives. We identify family dynamics and business relationships that could impact estate planning strategies and objectives. And finally, we determine the client's circumstances and objectives that may require legal measures. Again, if there's legal measures, sometimes that's bringing in a other professional, the teamwork and collaboration, bringing in a lawyer, for example. Then we move into the analysis section. So with regards to estate planning, in terms of assessing the client's situation, the first step is calculate financial projections in the event of death. Number 2 is, so there's some calculations definitely required in terms of the learning outcome statements. Number 2 is determines constraints to meeting clients' estate planning objectives. And then finally, number 3 assesses the financial planning implications of the legal measures the client has in place. Okay, so you can see here quite a few elements in terms of considering and evaluating strategies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we'll just slow down and look at that. So the first, in terms of considering and evaluating strategies, the first element is considers potential estate planning strategies. Number 2 is assesses impact of estate planning alternatives. Number 3 is evaluates advantages and disadvantages of each estate planning strategy. Then you prioritize the client's estate planning objectives and needs, consider financial planning implications of potential legal measures, evaluates advantages and disadvantages of alternative legal measures, and then finally prioritizes the client's objectives and needs that may require legal measures. After the collection analysis, we move into the recommendation phase of the process. And with regards to estate planning, the recommendation phase, the elements that make it up are: number 1, formulates estate planning strategies, recommends optimal estate planning strategies, prioritize the steps to assist client in implementing estate planning recommendations, recommends optimal legal measures, and then finally prioritizes steps to assist client in implementing legal measures. Now again, I just read that. I started this slide in terms of reading it from the columns and rows. Recall that I put this into mind maps, and here it is for 2020. It's just the exact same data. I did a copy and paste exercise, and for me that just moving from one format to another and putting it into kind of a visual graphic. Again, it just made me realize that when I compared it to 2019, that in 2019 there's only 3 elements here in terms of the analysis. The past is past. Most of my students, of course, are going to be moving on with the QAFP, which becomes effective January 1st, 2020. So I'm just showing you, though, this is nice to know, not need to know, that in 2019 there was only 3 elements under the analysis section, but as we moved into 2020, it becomes 7. So you can see with both the retirement planning and the estate planning in 2020, there's been a greater emphasis put on identifying and evaluating the strategies in those 2 areas. And that is the conclusion for this video, the topic being the financial planning area of estate planning. We were looking at the financial planning frameworks and process, the competency profile, and the 3-step of collection, analysis, and recommendation. And all this is feeding into integrated financial planning, developing ultimately an effective financial plan. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Thank you. Thank you very much.